Have you ever wondered how Stalker would play if you played it similar to an Iron Man in games like OSRS? You ever wondered how unforgiving the zone can truly be? No? Well, that's probably a good thing, actually. Luckily for y'all, I've asked myself that question. I will be addressing how it feels to play through all of Gamma's Invictus challenge while crafting everything I get. The run's gonna start out as a loner for the most commonplace and normal start. Though, as you can see, I don't have access to all of Gamma's default loadouts. I do start with basic tooling, as well as gunsmithing tools and a drug making kit. After a bunch of testing with the mods to make this possible, and with Gamma's recent tool changes in 0.9, we decided that I should start with a basic set of tooling, a respirator, and a multi-tool for breaking down weapons to get my parts, as well as a knife and a PDA to protect myself and know what I have to do. We would be starting this run with Fnatic's questline if it weren't completely impossible at this moment, because knife fighting the boars isn't that bad, it's very easy. We just don't have access to a detector, and you do not get one for the artifact hunting part of the questline. So instead, we're going to take some quests from Wolf and Sid and look around and see if there's anything else that we want to do.
Здорово, рад тебя видеть.
After accepting some quests and leaving Sid's bunker, we go ahead and craft a bandage or two using some of the purified water and cloth scraps that I was able to purchase with our points. And it is one of the mods that we have this run which allow us to create bandages using purified water and one cloth scrap. Shortly after leaving Rookie Village, we hear a little bit of gunfire, and I go over to check it out, stumbling across one of the most funny and yet commonplace things that happens in Gamma and in Stalker Anomaly. Just a couple of loners fighting a couple of zombies. And the zombies are winning, as we already found one dead loner on the floor. At the end of it all, one of the loners does end up surviving, and we do check the bodies and leave. We've already looted his friend and disassembled what we want and taken what we need, and decided to move north to the farm. We can check for food here, we can find food on the table, and we can break the boxes here for chances of medical supplies and other junk that we can break down. And we can also talk to Xenotech here, which shows that we can purchase these crafting recipes and some parts if we had money. And we can get money this run and utilize it. Money we earn from either looting corpses, such as the loose rubles that they have on them, and the money we earn from quest completion can be used to purchase junk items from vendors, the recipe books from mechanics, healing from medics, And I'm still trying to figure out whether or not we should handle the ammo situation by allowing purchasing of ammunition, but requiring me to break down all purchased ammunition to craft it into ammo that I can use. Or if I can only get ammo from stashes and disassembling ammunition off of bodies.
Чем тебе помочь? Извини, если не сильно помог.
Entering the garbage is where things really start to kick off and get a little interesting, because we did come up here to look for one of Sid's guys who had a shipment. We don't have to really go very far, and we see the guy surrounded by dog corpses. Still has the shipment on him, luckily, which we take, and we also unload and disassemble his AKS and his crotch that he has. This giving us a set of barrels, or set of components that we can utilize, and a set of barrels that we can utilize for later crafting. And with how heavy we are now that we're carrying the shipment plus all of the excess stuff, we have to slow trek all the way to the hangar, which takes us about 5 minutes. I'll cut some of that out for your convenience. The hangar bay is going to be our temporary storage area or base currently. We don't have very many other places that we can go to, and this gives us access to 2 stash boxes that we can already utilize without having to craft more, and access to Butcher, who gives us access to quest lines, and also has quests daily for us to go hunt mutants down that we get rewarded for. We don't even have to turn in meat for those quest lines if we're if we're lucky enough to get those. After storing everything that we have here in one of the boxes just outside of Butcher's place, we decide to talk to him and see if he has quests for us, and we also decide to see if we can get our hands on a little bit of firewood and some ground coffee. The firewood is useful because we can break it down for wood and scrap. and wooden scrap is necessary for a large portion of the early on weapon crafts. And the coffee is going to be useful for making, coffee. We don't have access to caffeine tablets or any other kind of craftable medicine currently. There are too many steps for us to take that would get us those things, so coffee is going to be our best friend for staving off sleep early, and for getting rid of dizziness and other issues early. After we grab the firewood and break it down, though, I look through my crafting and realize that we have enough junk to actually create our first pistol. So we go back into our box of junk, fish out the 9x19 barrel, the double action trigger, and some metal scraps, as well as the wood from the firewood that we just had. We decide to take that, and using our tooling, we make a Browning high-power pistol. Don't ask why it's fully loaded, the zone works with zone magic. I don't know, and I'm done questioning. And after doing a little bit of organization, I had to get up and go deal with some things, so I just did a quick cutaway that'll happen quite often the first couple of episodes. Some things happened while I was recording, and I couldn't avoid them. As I walk back in the sun outside the hangar and just listen to the local wildlife tearing into some poor bastard over the hill, I'd like to ask y'all to share this with people if you're interested in seeing more of this kind of stuff. It helps motivate me to stick with content creation as a whole, and it also gives me a reason to continue putting effort into recording and editing, streaming when I get back into it. After sitting in the sun and listening to the gunfire going on over the hillside for maybe a minute or so, I go check it out. It's been going on a lot longer than it should if it's just some mutants and some, regular old stalkers fighting it. And to my surprise, I end up rolling across a military stalker fighting a bandit and some loners. So I decide to pop in and try to take some cover and fire a few shots off. Fire a couple of rounds off, land a few of them, and immediately almost get killed. I proceed to miss most of my shots as the military brother walks up to me while I'm in cover, but I land the last one. That's all I need, because it wounds him and brings him to the ground, letting me finishing him off with my knife. After stopping some bleeding, I decide to scrounge around and look through the bodies. find the loner and the bandit that they were fighting, and then I eventually run back and double back to the military body to see as to whether or not I could craft anything parts from the body. And while I'm looking through these things, I get notifications on my PDA that let me know that, hey, I failed a couple of tasks. Seems like the guys that I got the tasks from originally must have died while I was here looting and moving. Which is unfortunate, but we need to focus on survival, so I'm gonna head back to the hangar and regroup. As we walk back into the hangar area, I'm looking through my inventory and realizing that most, if not all of my medicine so far has been from box loot drops or crafting. Seeing as how I have one slow heal damage resistant drug, don't ask me to pronounce the name, I'm not going to fuck that up because I will choke on my tongue. I also have some bandages and access to campfire healing. While slow, it is constant and consistent. And with us talking about meds, this brings up a good point. I have a cooking module that allows me to craft certain medical supplies using the parts of other mutants that I hunt and kill. Which, it does work, and it will work later on. But I have considered allowing the purchase of specific kinds of medical supplies that I cannot craft or find consistently on bodies from medics. I haven't decided as to whether or not that's going to be allowed or not yet, and if you guys have anything to say about it, feel free to post a comment about it and discuss, because I want to have a rough idea of what I should and shouldn't do for this run. That would make it more enjoyable. And while I'm sitting here and slowly healing from the campfire and that syringe, I decided to look through everything that we have available to us and figure out what all I can craft and what all I can cook. I have access to certain things later on using crafting recipes and crafting books that I get from mechanics, such as, you know, the HK-4 and then the AKs and other weapons. But it requires me to find the tooling first to turn into those mechanics so they can actually give me the books to learn how to craft them. I'm also unsure as to whether or not I'm going to be able to find enough vodka for this run so I can purify my meals and cook my meat. So if I do allow myself the exception to purchase vodka, do you guys think that that would cause too many problems? Vodka can be found semi-consistently later in the game, but for early game, I probably won't have access to enough medical supplies or ammunition to kill enough people to find vodka early for crafting. With that, I will be ending episode 1 of the challenge so far. Thank you all for watching, and please feel free to share this with friends, as well as maybe giving the video a like if you enjoy it. I won't be asking for subscriptions, because I don't stream or create content consistently enough to warrant it. Have a good one.